It's a great day. Thank you so much for joining us. My name is Sandra Kahunde. Thank you for choosing the National Broadcaster. This is a special edition. The weekly news roundup starts now. President Yoweri Museveni has said that Uganda's natural biodiversity presents important opportunities for adaptation and mitigation that can greatly contribute to global reduction of greenhouse gas emissions. In a message delivered for him by Prime Minister Robin Nabbanja, Mr. Museveni said that Uganda can reduce up to 24.7% of greenhouse gas emissions by the year 2030, although it is highly vulnerable to climatic shocks.
The president's message was delivered by the Prime Minister of Uganda at the ongoing COP28 summit at the closure of the first high-level segment for heads of state and government in Dubai, United Arab Emirates. Museveni says that recently some parts of the country experienced floods, landslides and prolonged drought with rising temperatures, yet the country contributes only 0.01% of the global emissions.
Uganda is mindful of the rampant degradation and the associated impacts escalating climate change. As a result, the government of Uganda has come up with policies to protect and preserve our environment and biodiversity.
The president says that Uganda is mindful of the rampant degradation and the associated impacts escalating climate change. As a result, Uganda has come up with policies to protect and preserve her environment and biodiversity. Nabbanja used this opportunity to invite heads of state and government attending the summit to come and participate in the 19th Non-Allied Movement NAM, the G77 and China Summit that Uganda will be hosting in January 2024.
Your Excellencies, Uganda as a chair of the G77 plus China for the 2024 wishes to commend the group for identifying the topics and priorities which the group will focus on during the 2024 negotiations under the UNFCCC.
The Prime Minister later made presentations at the side event organized by International Organization for Migration, IOM, where over 30 countries have signed the Kampala Ministerial Declaration on Migration, Environment and Climate Change, which outlines concerns on the effects of climate change on human mobility.
It is our hope and belief that the Kampala Declaration will serve as a continental reference document for managing the nexus between immigration and climate change. It will also ignite our sense of collective responsibility and the effort to address the human mobility challenges across the African continent and the global at large.
As people's lives are put at risk, as people's livelihoods are eroded, as people's futures grow dim, that we instead are working together to deliver on something that will change their future. And we at IOM stand with you, Excellencies, as you take this historic step together.
Nabbanja later in the day also made a presentation at the NAMSide event meeting organized by Cuba. At the meeting, Nabbanja said that there is need for urgent funding of all interventions aimed at environmental conservation.
We therefore appeal partnerships to offset these climate change costs.
Last evening, Uganda was announced as one of the countries that will benefit from the $100 million grant to strengthen food security systems in Africa.
To be amongst the 7 first countries to benefit from this package is a great thing, and I would like to really call upon my colleagues who are going to implement this fund to make sure that we efficiently implement this fund without any loss, because we are looking for more funds. And I hope that at the end of the day, we will be hearing such good news throughout this COP.
Africa, we are producers. We are home to over 65% of the minerals that are necessary for greening the world in terms of energy. So we must take advantage of that.
The Prime Minister was accompanied by several ministers that include Sam Cheptoris, the Minister for Water and Environment, Dr. Jane Ruth Acheng, the Minister for Health, Dr. Ruth Nankabirwa, Minister for Energy and Mineral Development, State Minister for Environment Beatrice Anywar, the Minister of State for Foreign Affairs Okello Oryem, among others. The summit continues until the 12th of December 2023.
Vice President Jessica Alupo has appealed to teachers to help connect grassroots people with the prevailing development programs in communities that impact on their livelihoods. Ms. Alupo was at a function at Aputon Primary School in Katakwi District. We have the details.
Education is a very important tool that anyone can use to change the world on the affirmative. Education is compulsory in Uganda, and it is a must for every child. If there are children who are loitering in the villages or in the town councils when their friends are in the classroom, it is a responsibility of the RDC and the leaders of that area to ensure that all those children are in the classroom. No child should be locked out of the gate because of uniform. His Excellency the President, you have heard him say that let the child be in class even if he's naked. Because the most important thing is the teacher in front of that child. That's what he has said. The most important thing is the teacher in front of that child. And let the children be in class, and you handle the administrative arrangements of these other development programs of the school with the parents. Don't involve the child. Don't make a child a victim. But I want to thank the teachers of this school. I want to thank the parents of this school for where you have come from to where you are now. And all schools are struggling in the same way. Some of us may have been beneficiaries of those programs of livelihoods. Some of them include, but not limited to, Operation Wealth Creation, NADS, Youth Livelihood, Women Fund, Emioga, and PDM. So if we are saying that government is building roads, electricity is coming, health of the people is being attended to, the ambulances are now out, so we shall not have again stress. They arrange the ambulances in such a way that Wusu County has the ambulance, Ngariam County has the ambulance, and Toroma County has the ambulance. Water sector is being attended to, education sector, peace and security. Let's now connect those ones to wealth creation through these livelihood programs, which have a lot of money, which is already in the hands of our people, and the results will be visible. I want to appeal to teachers that you are very strong pillars in the communities. Let's connect the two, the programs of development and the programs of the livelihood. Because what the head teacher was talking about, this fund for boarding, this fund for development, the other one for first aid, the other one for health, this is where the center of gravity is. The center of gravity is on the improvement of the household income. The parents themselves would actually be the ones calling the head teacher, SMC and PTA, and saying, you sit down, for us as parents, we have come out of poverty and we will now want to do A, B, C, D, E.
In other developments, the judiciary is optimistic about curbing the overwhelming numbers of sexual and gender-based violence cases registered. This was disclosed by the principal judge, Dr. Flavien Nzeije, at the launch of the National Sexual and Gender-Based Violence Bench Book, which seeks to serve as a tool to improve access to justice in hindering SGBV cases.
Based violence involves violence against individuals who are targeted because of their gender, and this can be in form of physical and mental violence, some of which amount to torture. With the increasing cases of sexual gender-based violence in the country, and with the need to address these cases, Judiciary, in collaboration with Action Aid, Uganda Network of Young People Living with HIV/AIDS UNIPA, and the Australian Embassy Development Corporation have launched a bench book. Principal Judge Flavian Nzeija, who graced the book launch ceremony, was overwhelmed by the increasing numbers of SGBV cases reported and registered by the judiciary.
The National Sexual and Gender-Based Violence Bench Book will be one of the effective countermeasures to demystify the complexities in trying SGBV crimes, and an analysis of leading judicial decisions on SGBV cases in Uganda and best practices from other jurisdictions.
Nzeija is optimistic that the bench book will serve as a helpful tool for legal practitioners in addressing SGBV cases in the country.
We have been conducting special SGBV sessions for the past 6 years. It is my hope that the Judicial Bench Book will be disseminated to all the relevant stakeholders in the fight against SGBV crimes.
The book by Justice David Batema, a resident judge for Iganga, is to focus on sexual offences.
Coming out of the first book, but now we are becoming masters on SGBV, and that's what I want to present to you.
SGBV is a complex problem, and the agencies have expressed commitment to tackle the injustices.
We use different approaches in our response, but just to let you know that out of the 36,481, 1,319 cases were referred to courts of law. We are grateful to the judiciary for accepting to partner with us.
The head of mission, Australian Embassy Development Corporation, Dr. Kate Larrow, says the adjournment of cases related to SGBV inconvenience victims.
I think we really need to address our minds to that fact that SGBV is much bigger. We have so far been able to clear more than 2,000 SGBV cases in Uganda.
Let us continue to join our forces. United, we can end gender-based violence and harmful practices.
Present at the book launch were judges of the Supreme Court, magistrates and court registrars, among other dignitaries. Ivan Juko, Deborah Namamonde, UBC.
The State House Under Secretary Ms. Hope Nyakairu has urged the spouses of Special Forces Command SFC soldiers to focus on generating their own sources of income in order to improve the welfare of their families. Mrs. Nyakairu made the appeal while representing the State House Controller, Ms. Jane Barete, during a graduation ceremony of 2,008 spouses of SFC soldiers at Marine Battalion Headquarters in Entebbe. The spouses graduated under the Presidential Initiative Scaling Program, which was started in 2004, aimed at empowering spouses of SFC soldiers to create their own income using skills acquired through training in order to supplement their household earnings. The beneficiaries comprise spouses of soldiers from all Special Forces units of Lunyo, Kabarange, Chigungu, Kololo, Summit View, Amba, and Kisenyi. The spouses were equipped with skills in shoemaking, tailoring, baking, catering, among others. Ms. Nyakairu told the graduates that the idea of training spouses of SFC soldiers started in 2004 when President Yoweri Kaguta Museveni, who is also the Commander-in-Chief of the Uganda People's Defence Forces UPDF, directed the setting up of a desk for spouses of SFC soldiers. She added that the initiative was established to enable the spouses fend for their families. Ms. Nyakairu challenged the beneficiaries to think about their next step after graduating. She advised them to work and improve the lives of their families and contribute to the development of the country, since they have got the appropriate skills. She said that the spouses of SFC soldiers were the first group to benefit from the initiative, and she thanked the President for thinking about the men in uniform. She further handed over sewing machines to graduates given to them by the President to help them start working. Colonel Dr. Damiano Kato thanked President Museveni for considering the spouses of SFC soldiers require skills that would help them create their own income to improve the welfare of their families. In more updates, truck drivers at Uganda's Busia border with Kenya have been singled out as the main agents in the spread of HIV/AIDS due to delays in clearance of trucks by Uganda Revenue Authority (URA). The delays render many truck drivers idle and end up in the lodges and the brothels where they meet sex workers housed in semi-permanent houses to standard block rooms. Details in this special report.
A one-stop border point links Uganda to Kenya at Busia district. The town at times becomes very busy with a long queue of heavy trucks stretching on either sides of the road heading to and from Kenya. However, the delay in the clearance of trucks has turned the town of Busia to a beehive of commercial sex fueled by truck drivers who spend days waiting for Uganda Revenue Authority to clear their trucks. Many of the truck drivers end up being idle and find themselves being prime targets for commercial sex with sex workers in Busia town. They flood lodges. The price for lodging in Busia town depends on the kind of lodge. Affordable to many of the truck drivers are semi-permanent houses, while others are standard block rooms. Here, sex workers book single rooms before the truck drivers arrive. It's often difficult to find a lodging facility in the night in Busia because sex workers book them in advance prior to the arrival of their potential clients, the truck drivers. For purposes of protecting her right particulars, she's named Jacqueline. Jacqueline is 22 years old and a prominent sex worker at Busia Border. She tells us that dimly lit up streets and cold, rainy season, like now, help her trap men into bargaining for sex. Jacqueline is among the sex workers at the border with multiple booked rooms, not only on the Ugandan side, but also on the Kenyan side. Besides being a sex worker at Busia Border, Jacqueline is also a bar attendant. She says truck drivers often take advantage of her vulnerability when she's drunk and lure her into having unprotected sex over a bottle of beer. Jacqueline says that most of her clients come as customers in a bar she works in and hook with them after work.
Twagala nafe tubeereko ng'abantu abali ku naki na ssente tetweyendera ati lwaba tukole mu bbaala nedda twagala kuyambako abaana baffe tuyambeko abazadde baffe ife abalala tuli bannaku tetwayagala kola ki kolera mu bbaala.
For Mama Sisi, name preferred, on a good night she makes 200,000 Ugandan shillings, while on a bad night she makes 100,000 Ugandan shillings. She claims that ever since she started commercial sex, she has never failed paying school fees for her 4 children.
N'abaana bange era mbaweerera basoma bulungi nnyo nga nze abasomesa. Nze olunaku olumu funa abasajja 9. Elubeera olulungi funa 10,000. Elubeera lubi funa 5,000.
For Aunt Rosemary, name preferred, nowadays her clients are financially incapacitated, can't afford a bottle of beer, and sometimes prefer having her on date. Uganda Youth's Coalition on Adolescent and Sexual Reproductive Health and HIV, an organization on advocacy for better health program, has 1,600 registered sex workers in Busia town, and all are living with HIV/AIDS. Charles Isaac Bwire, the team leader, says the project is expected to create enabling opportunities for community groups to raise their demands and hold duty bearers accountable for improved health and social services in Busia town.
So we make sure that we are supporting health facilities to reach out to these people, those who have gone off treatment, to make sure that they are followed up and they are back on treatment. And we believe that with HIV treatment, we are going to beat the AIDS epidemic by 2030.
Mayende Lamu, the Busia district focal person on HIV/AIDS, says the HIV prevalence is high in Busia municipality among sex workers at 4.2%. The high prevalence of HIV and AIDS in Busia municipality is also attributed to truck drivers who hardly want to have protected sex.
We appeal to the Ministry of Health to elevate our health center to a hospital status, because it is serving the whole of Bukit South region, that is to say part of Tororo, part of Namaingo and Bugiri. All those people report here, so it's good if it is elevated.
Kamau George, name preferred, is a truck driver with an oil company. Is a potential client to many of the sex workers in Busia municipality. He says he prefers using his mattress in the back seat than going to the lodge. According to a study conducted by the ASHRA, an NGO based in Busia, HIV/AIDS prevalence rate among truck drivers range between 2% to 2.5%.
UBC News Weekly Roundup. Uganda's Minister for Works and Transport, General Katumba Wamala, says despite the African continent being endowed with immense resources, majority of its citizens are lingering in a vicious cycle of poverty due to over-dependence on imports and exporting unfinished products. General Katumba made the observation at the Central Corridor Interstate Council of Ministers meeting in Dar es Salaam, Tanzania, where Malawi was admitted as a new sub-regional transport and trading bloc member. Dennis Sigo reports.
Malawi has joined the Central Corridor Transit Transport Facilitation Agency agreement, fostering a stronger regional collaboration and trade. This was at the Central Corridor Interstate Council of Ministers meeting in Dar es Salaam, Tanzania.
But we just don't come in to look at how to benefit from this. As a country, we also believe that we'll be able to add value to this agreement and this agency, because as a country, we are also thinking very serious as far as connectivity and trade facilities is concerned.
So this, for us, I can say that it's a good opportunity, it's a good development to the Central Corridor, because the family growth. And this will contribute, will give the new opportunity to the Central Corridor member states to do the business, but also to extend even the strategy of development of the infrastructure in transport sector that can help to move the cargo along the Central Corridor member states.
At the meeting, the ministers, among them General Katumba Wamala, Uganda's Minister of Works and Transport, emphasized the need for the member countries to boost exports in order to tackle the existing trade imbalance between Africa and its trade partners in Asia and the West.
I want to challenge ourselves as a corridor that we should not only look at using our corridor as an import corridor. We should look at our corridor both as import and export. I think in most of our cases, when we talk of volume of trade, we are talking of the imports coming through. But how much are we exporting through the corridors? That is our challenge.
After the accession of Malawi, Zambia, a landlocked country bordering Tanzania that also utilizes the Central Corridor route, is next on the line and is expected to be fully integrated into the corridor in 2024.
We all our neighbors a duty to be able to facilitate trade and through connectivity. And so Zambia is happy to play this role, to use our infrastructure to promote trade and investment and indeed connectivity in the region, but also that this Central Corridor gives us access to the Great Lakes region and the eastern part of Africa. And so
at the meeting, key strategic projects completed and some being implemented with the goal of facilitating trade across borders and ease transport through the Central Corridor were highlighted. There is a common saying that goes like this: when you want to go far, you go with others. But if you want to go very fast, you have to move alone. And that tells you the agenda of the Central Corridor by adding Zambia and Malawi into its membership. Dennis Igoa for UBC News in Dar es Salaam, Tanzania.
Please do stay with us. Shortly after these messages, I will return with more news updates.
Jovia ng'oyolekera ku lugendo luno olw'obulamu nkuwa ekirabo eky'amaanyi agatazizibwa, amaanyi okulabibwa n'okuwulirwa mu mawanga ageewala ennyo, okutuuka buli wamu nga yadde togenzeeyo, ensi yonna ng'ekuli mu ngalo. Okutambula mu biseera n'okumanya buli kimu ekirina okumanyibwa. Jovia, kino kye kirabo kyange gy'oli.
Tewali kkubo ku ki ky'osobola okukola omukutu nnandameggwa ogwa MTN. Juko. Yo. Check the shopping, man. What's your secret?
Haven't you heard of the Parish development model, PDM?
Yes, I did, but I thought it was just a talk.
No, Sebatia.
It is real.
I and a few friends together formed a circle, accessed money from the PDM, invested in a portrait project, and now things are moving.
Juko. I thought I was one of your friends.
You are.
But you left me behind.
I didn't leave you in poverty. What you do, just visit your LC2 chairperson and your parish chief and start the process of economic transformation. Just like that. The Parish development model is an initiative from the government of Uganda through the Ministry of Local Government designed to transform all lives of Ugandans for the better.
PDM, my parish, my development, my life.
Banza kusima muzeyi Museveni tibuhabuga Babyface.
I want to start by thanking Mzee Museveni Tibaburwa, Babyface, for what he has done for us. He got us from the villages when we were stuck because he saw we didn't have what to do. Right now, we are in Toro Zonal Hub, the one that trains the young generation.
Tumusima sitine bugarukiro. Ezeshaha turiyo muri Toro Zonal Hub project ya muzeyi eyatiro kwegesa itwe ensinganto. Nyewe ndi carpenter.
I am now a carpenter and we do chairs, beds, doors and everything else that is found in the furniture world.
Tubanza kusima abashomesa bitu abitwine.
We want to thank our teachers. They have done a good job imparting skills to us, to see that we do such things, yet we were in the villages and could not do anything. We are now waiting for graduation and put in practice what we have learned.
After graduation, tukareba twaza kutangira nkahi.
Welcome back. Glad to know that you're able to stay. If you've just joined us, good afternoon. It's a weekly news roundup. My name is Sandra. Now, as we move on to other activities that you could have missed out during the week, we saw government and NGOs creating awareness among rice farmers to adopt to climate-smart agriculture for sustainable rice production. During the stakeholders meeting held by Kilimo Trust in Tororo District, farmers were tipped on upland rice growing to ease pressure on wetlands.
The government of Uganda prohibited the cultivation of rice and all other crops in wetlands to protect wetlands from degradation and save Uganda's ecosystem. As a result, government is collaborating with NGOs to train rice farmers on climate-smart agriculture in Busia sub-region to not only conserve wetlands but also increase farm yields. The project Reduce, Reuse, Recycle Rice Initiative for Climate-Smart Agriculture project is an initiative of Kilimo Trust.
This project, funded by the IKEA Foundation, called R4I CSA, basically is about Reduce, Reuse, Recycle Rice Initiative for Climate-Smart Agriculture. We are focused on reducing excessive or needless use of excessive water. We reduce on excessive use of water. We reduce on use of inorganic agrochemicals, particularly the nitrogen-based fertilizers in our fields, which are responsible for greenhouse gas emissions. So today we are focusing on educating farmers, for instance, on why it is necessary, together with the research data, because we are working with our scientists from Naro and also scientists from even across the region, to basically show through empirical data that actually rice doesn't need to have continuous flooding.
Rice contributes highly to greenhouse gases with methane, nitrous oxide and carbon dioxide as byproducts of rice farming and the rice value chain. Rice is responsible for 10% of the global methane emission. The R4I CSA project is designed to increase rice productivity, improve rice resilience and reduce greenhouse gases.
Rice has played, in terms of all the agricultural crops, rice plays a very key role in terms of greenhouse gases emissions because of its way of production in the flooded conditions and the inputs that are used within those wetland conditions. So there's a lot of greenhouse gases emissions from rice production areas. Secondly, rice production under wetland situations requires a lot of water, basically flooding the fields for the rice to do well. So therefore, you can see the nexus between rice production and the wetlands.
Part of government's plan to protect wetland encroachment is sustainable land management practices and reforestation, climate-resilient agricultural practices, and alternative livelihoods for communities living in wetlands.
So you cannot talk about conserving wetland without talking about rice growing. So we are here to create a way to deal with the rice growing. One, to try to sensitize people on how to replace rice with other things like can be fish farming or any other agricultural activities that can conserve the wetland.
I think what needs to be done is to look at, one, the competitive advantage of our engagement into rice. Farmers need to be given the economics. And if they really look at the economics, you never know, many of them might abandon it. Because after all, their rice is nowhere seen in Kampala. It is invisible. So that's one other thing. But the other thing, if we really do the calculations and it is competitive, then we have to engage our production systems and see that if production must be done in the wetlands, it must be technically guided and supervised. Let the farmers, let the rice production be done in the schemes that are designated. And then we leave the other fragile ecosystems to do the common good, the public good, to nature.
Sara Mubale, UBC News, in Busia sub-region.
Moving on, the joint security forces of the UPDF and police in Karamoja sub-region have announced that they are going to use forceful disarmament to eliminate criminality in Kanga district. This was announced during a security meeting attended by the 3rd Division Commander, Major General Don Williams Nabasa, Police Anti-Stock Theft Unit Commandant and District Security Committee members.
Name listed by these wrongdoers
And one of them came to me and told me, Mr. Chairman, what are you people doing about this? What are you people doing about this? Already told me, if government doesn't do much, because for them they are about to die, they will use the PDA money to buy guns.
For a long time, Kanga district has been considered as a gunless and non-raiding community and was ranked among the most peaceful areas in Karamojo sub-region. However, this was to last until October 2022, when killings, threats, burning of people and their property started.
Unknown people killed our principal assistant secretary in Kanga. They killed him in town council here in his home in the night. And that was the beginning.
Police officer and one UPDF officer, specifically on the 2nd of October. And these killings have been not so rampant, isolated.
But specifically in Sangar, we have a spot area called the Lokyal. Lokyal is one of the places where we removed the detached. But when we realized that the things were becoming bad, we have reinstated the detached in Lokyal. Yes. And then the other hottest place where we had also another problem was Cattle Farm.
Kanga District Chairperson Felix Mark Lochale and security officers explain what went amiss.
Kept moving out. It is so and so who's against you, coming to police, doing this. And that's how the whole thing got jeopardized. People said, we are giving you information, again you are telling the country, because
some elements of the hardcore criminals who refused to get on board decided to use Kanga that has always been peaceful as a safe haven for two reasons. Number one, as I said, Kanga has been the most peaceful, so they didn't have any pressure that would disturb them. Secondly, they hide in Kideko National Park, where they are feeding on their meat.
Weeks where we had actually requested them to bring back the guns voluntarily, none of them has given us the gun.
The 3rd Division Commander, Major General Don Williams Nambasa, and Kanga District Chairperson shed more light on the current security situation in Kanga.
Instead, after the names were read, they have continued threatening people. You can see an incident where a child of 6 years was killed. They know banning. In Sanga, they banned again another person. So they are used to banning people in houses.
A few incidents of killings. Some of them are linked to some collaborators who are hiring them to come and kill people over some conflicts that we are still investigating and understand why they come out to target a few.
The Police and Stock Theft Unit Commandant, Commissioner of Police Elias Kasirabo and General Nambasa explain measures being taken to restore sanity in Kanga District.
Winning the hearts and minds of the people is very key. How do you do it? Confidentiality. 2, operating precisely to the target.
My operational commander is already conducting an operational meeting. I'm going for them because they have refused to come out. So I'm going for them.
Of 2 weeks it will be done. Forces are there and all support elements are all here. We shall be able to inherit those who have come in to attack individuals here and there.
Meanwhile, Lochale is worried that the current security threats may frustrate implementations of the parish development model.
Staff has threatened those who live in sub-counties. Will attest to this. Sometimes, what's wrong? Why are people not getting PDM? They say, who can go inside? Who can go to Kawala?
Forceful disarmament measures to be applied. Since Usalama kwa Wote was launched in July 2020.
Government is expected to mobilize resources from the forthcoming Non-Aligned Movement Summit to construct a World Leadership Institute that will be named after late Mwalimu Julius Nyerere, former president of the United Republic of Tanzania. These plans were revealed by Professor Tarsis Kabwajere, who was presiding over the memorial lecture of late Benjamin William Mkapa, former president of the United Republic of Tanzania, as Okoro reports.
Julius Nyerere, former president of the United Republic of Tanzania, has been described as a statesman whose role was vital in Mosh Conference that led to the overthrow of General Idi Amin Dada in 1997.
Nyerere, who refused to recognize Amin as the president of Uganda because he used the wrong method to remove Obote. Obote, who was a friend but also contemporary president of Uganda, and Nyerere was president of Uganda.
It is against that background that the government of Uganda has embarked on a campaign to mobilize resources to establish a World Leadership Institute that will be named after him at the Non-Aligned Movement Summit, which is due to be held in Uganda early January 2024.
We are hoping, working very hard, that the conference which is coming, summit which is coming here next month, January, that we have some support funding from all these countries where Nyerere was instrumental, that we build a World Leadership Institute in the name of Mwalimu Nyerere to institutionalize him, to memorize him because of what he was.
These plans were revealed at a memorial lecture for the late Benjamin William Mkapa, former president of the United Republic of Tanzania, who is equally remembered for the same struggle.
He was very active in peace, in mediation and peace negotiations.
He played a pivotal role, I believe, in ensuring that the conference takes place and achieves its objectives of coming up with a roadmap for the post-Idi Amin Uganda.
He was also remembered as a former educationist who contributed a lot in shaping the Ugandan education system after he was installed as a Chancellor of Cavendish University.
We are reminded of the profound impact His Excellency Mkapa had, not only on our institution but also on the broader landscape of governance in East Africa and Africa in general.
Mkapa was born in November 1938 and died on 24th of July 2020 in Dar es Salaam Hospital. He ruled Tanzanians from 1995 to 2005. Joseph Okow, UBC.
Moving on, stigma and discrimination remain a major challenge facing HIV/AIDS management in the country. In this mini feature, our reporter Zahara Bigava explores everyone's role in the fight against stigma and discrimination against people living with a deadly disease.
HIV/AIDS is associated with stigma and discrimination globally, with less than 10% of people living with HIV reporting internalized stigma or experiencing stigma and discrimination in healthcare and community settings. Ewan Kagwa narrates his ordeal.
I have been on treatment for over 20 years, but the first 10 years were not easy. Once the community got to know about my status, I was stigmatized and discriminated against. At school, church, even at community functions. But ever since I started treatment, my life has not been the same again. I am so grateful to government.
Kagwa says that it's everybody's responsibility to know their status and start on treatment immediately.
I was born with the virus and I never called it upon myself. And there's no single person that can accuse me of infecting them. Kind advice is let everyone know their status.
Kagwa made a humble request that whoever dies of a deadly virus be pronounced voluntarily at the funeral or the burial so that the community gets to know.
nenga nandisabye singa mba nfudde famire yange tekigikosa kugamba nti kagwa afudde kawuka ka siriimu bakyogereko abantu bakipiikinge bamanye nti gundi afudde naye afudde siriimu abantu kyongere okubawaako ekyokuyiga aba bakyagala si kyabuwaze.
Experts say that given proper training, religious leaders can become strong allies in HIV/AIDS prevention and control programs focused on awareness creation, behavior change, and the elimination of stigma and discrimination against people living with the virus. The acting Secretary General at Gaddafi National Mosque, Muhammad Ali Aluma, notes that it is important to encourage community support and solidarity using compassionate spirit.
I urge all Muslims all over the world, all our brothers and sisters all over the world, please take good care of yourself. There is no spare for life. Your life is your life and it's very precious. Take good care of your life. You will always survive in the best way possible. I thank you.
The reason as why AIDS is spreading at a higher rate, it's because of the stigma. Stigma that is discriminating people with the virus. They know they have it, and alhamdulillah there are different measures that have been put up. They're on drugs, they can't infect us when they're on drugs. But when you discriminate against them, they react negatively, like they feel they want you also to become a victim of the situation.
HIV causes a variety of negative psychological consequences such as stress, fear, worry, anxiety, and depression, as well as social consequences. The Director of Public Health at the Ministry of Health, Dr. Daniel Chabayenzi, says stigma and discrimination are a potential barrier to HIV prevention and treatment, which results in lower rates of HIV testing and poor ART adherence. Chabayenzi notes that Ministry of Health has a non-discriminatory policy and approach for all the care they give.
We have come a long way where people used to fear because of ignorance, and we've put things in place based on the best information we have. People are being discriminated, others in fear that they will get contracting HIV just by touch and contact. But we've come a long way we've also put now workplace policies where people should be given counseling, where people can have testing facilities and care in the health facility. So HIV is just one of the things or the conditions which we should make sure people are comfortable and give their services and they live a full lifespan despite of whatever conditions they're covering. Yes, we protect everybody because now HIV/AIDS is no longer a disease we used to hide in the back. People have been able to live 30 years on treatment. We have seen people who have done virus suppression. So it's okay to declare, it's okay for HR to pick and keep that on file, but also protect your information. It's only released as you are comfortable with how much information is shared. That way we deal away with stigma. That way we see that people are championing and people are writing. You know, one of
Zahara Abigaba, UBC News.
What makes people living with albinism different from others? Is it the skin color or other physical and emotional challenges? These are some of the questions that we're seeking answers to as we delve into the second part of the life of Thomas Opio, the primary school teacher from the Eastern District of Busia, as a story to tell regarding his life as a teacher living with albinism.
Person to grow up and you're kept at home and you're not brought into the public, you grow up with that kind of feeling that, you know, I can't be in the public, how are people going to look at me? So first of all, it starts at the family level. The parents must take the first responsibility to make sure that the children living with albinism go to the public and join mainstream schools.
In this explanation, there is nothing like disability or inability but challenges. Challenges that Opio has encountered and overcome, both at school and back home. For example, the family man that he is spends his Saturday in the farm, digging alongside his children.
When the weather is hot, it's hard for me to endure that heat. So to avoid this, I usually put on long sleeved clothes plus a cape. When I dress the way I'm dressed, I can take some time in the garden.
This is the kind of life that the father of 6 has lived since his childhood. Out of the 8 children of his parents, 4 were born with albinism. Of the 4, he is the only surviving one.
Nasookere nimbyalo mwala mwirugazu. Ninjiryako mwala mwirugazu. Ninjiryako mwisuka mwirugazu. Okwava kutolekida kyo mwana oyo nimbyalo mwana oyo mweru.
The death of their father was a big challenge, especially regarding the capacity to raise these children. It took a timely gesture from Salem Brotherhood to take them on. It is a non-government organization established in 1981 to offer health and social welfare support to the sick and poor within eastern Uganda.
Baba sigaza ekolo. Era niya baba someserye. Oyo bamufunira omukole basoma bamalisyako ebibiina. Nafuna omulimo ogw'obusomesya. Omwala magezi ge gaali matontono era yafiire nga w'emyaka 18.
Kiropa Margaret, the mother of these children, would again give birth to 2 other children with albinism. The 2, who followed each other, were however not taken on by any good Samaritan. They died.
Ntise tutakire Tomasi n'omwala ono Jessica. N'aba iwenyero kumaabo. Baba ningezyako kutunda mbuyigo naawo ntamo banyamba baganira ku Tomasi bagana n'okumwala.
Opio has since accepted life, embracing farming and teaching ventures as a God-fearing father. God-fearing because the Anglican churchgoer never misses a service on Sundays. We followed him there and found him praising and worshiping alongside other congregants. The preacher of the day was youthful Julius Kitala. He acknowledged the fact that someone may be born and appear differently, but remains important to society.
However much someone is lame, someone is blind, such a person is we should respect them and accord them what they are supposed to have.
There are some teachers, especially those ones who have not grown with the people who resemble myself, have always not been so social to me, and consequently, even sitting next to me may be a problem.
This kind of discrimination has extended up to his children at school. Fellow pupils make fun of them. 16-year-old Susan Nanzara has just sat her primary leaving examinations. She and her mother, Sabano Goreti, are always supportive of their breadwinner.
Kanga Disarmament. Alinisona magwe. Tumuleka.
Ninkoma zende omukama izo kubakale niyateekateekera baani yandagirenzera ntoni abiyo.
Thomas Opio is just one of the 20,000 people estimated to be living with albinism in Uganda. This is according to the World Bank report and the World Report on Population. These continue to suffer stigma, health and other physical challenges. Opio has experienced all, including denial of promotion, despite successful upgrading in the teaching profession.
Because of the low qualification I had, so I went to the university for a diploma. I still wanted to continue with a degree, to look a person who fits in the people. Preferably, if there would be chance, I would be given a promotion.
All they need is care, support and inclusiveness. Short of these requires bravery to overcome stereotypes. At 45, Opio is left with 15 years to retire, in which the ambition of becoming a commissioner in the Ministry of Education remains alive.
The special care we need is government to listen to us and give us support, support in terms of education, give us the opportunity to study so that we are not discriminated. Remember, when you are of this type and you have not gone to school, you can be discriminated the more.
Unless you come out of your shells, of your darkness, the public will never know your challenges. The public will never know that you can actually do things that they don't expect you to do. And all these beliefs and myths that we have around albinism can be resolved if we have many people with albinism coming out and showing their potential and showing what they can do and showing that they can actually live and do things like any other person.
For now, the bi-weekly bicycle ride to school and back home continues as he balances between work, welfare and family. Henry Okrut, UBC.
Well, something to ponder about as you enjoy your weekend from Henry Okrut as we wind up this weekly news roundup. Thank you so much for keeping us company. Keep watching the National Broadcaster. More interesting programs lined up your way. A fruitful week ahead of you is all I wish you. My name is Sandra Kahunde. God bless you.
Council informs the graduates, parents, guardians and the general public that the 19th graduation ceremony shall be held on Wednesday 6th, Thursday 7th and Friday 8th December 2023 from 9 a.m. to 1 p.m. each day as follows. On Wednesday 6th December 2023, Faculty of Special Needs and Rehabilitation and School of Management and Entrepreneurship. On Thursday, 7th December 2023, Faculty of Arts and Humanities, Faculty of Social Sciences, School of Vocational Studies, School of Art and Industrial Design, and Faculty of Agriculture. On Friday, 8th December,